Members, will you please be seated? This is now 9:45. May I call to order meeting of the transport panel, so please be seated. On the 18th of October at our last meeting, you may recall that we were electing chairman for the panel, and Ms. Lau Siu Lai and Mr. Chang Han Pan were duly nominated because we didn't have time to complete the election procedures, so it was still pending. So I'd like to ask, apart from Mr. Chang Han Pan and Ms. Lau Siu Lai, do we have other nominations, please? Mr. Lam Chek Ting, I nominate Dr. Kwok Kai-ki. Dr. Kwok Kai-ki. Any seconder? Mr. Kenneth Leung seconds. Dr. Kwok Kai-ki, do you accept? I do. All right. We have 3 nominations. Any others? Mr. Gary Chen. Please put on record, Mr. Chairman, that since Ms. Lau Siu Lai has yet to complete her oath-taking, I object to her participation in this meeting or in the election of the chairman to the panel. All right, you object. All right, you object to her taking part in this election. Okay. Any other nominations? All right, I'll count to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, nomination closed. We have 3 candidates here. Please note the numbers. Number 1, Mr. Chang Han Pan. Number 2, Ms. Lau Siu Lai. Number 3, Dr. Kwok Kai-ki. The staff will distribute the ballot papers now. For those who have just come into the room, if you are a member of the transport panel, please be seated first and then put up your hand. Those who have just come in, if you are a member of the transport panel and have yet to receive a ballot paper, please sit down and put up your hand until you have got a ballot paper. Colleagues who have just come in, because the staff might have already passed your row, so do not put down your hand until you've got a ballot paper. It appears that we've all got a ballot paper. I'd like to know whether there is anyone who has yet to receive a ballot paper. I'll count to 5. And after that, no more ballot paper will be distributed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. Stop the distribution of ballot papers. For those who have already voted, all right, our staff will now collect the ballot papers. Please put your ballot paper into the box personally, and please do not leave your seats before you've done so.
Okay.
We've issued 45 ballot papers. I invite the nominating member the respective non-members to come to monitor the counting. Mr. Chang Han Peng is nominated. Is Ms. Sarah Lee? She's not here. Doesn't matter. And his seconder is Ms. Frankie Yik. So get ready. Ms. Lau Shilai was nominated by Mr. Chen Chi-chun. And Dr. Kwok Kang-ki was nominated by Mr. Lam Chak-ting. So please get ready to come out.
你等一等先，等一等，唔使咁急。
Wait, please. Wait.
收晒，因為未收晒。
We haven't got all the ballot papers yet.
好，有冇仲有
Do we have ballot papers not yet put into the box anymore? No? So can the members come out to monitor the counting of votes?
好，撈亂佢先嚇。OK。
Please mix them up first.
撈唔撈有乜分別咧？睇到次序啊嘛。3號。
Number 3. Number 2. Number 3. Number 3. Number 1. Number 3. Number 3. Number 3. Number 3. Number 3. Number 1. Number 1. Number 1. Number 3. Number 3. Number 3. Number 3. Number 1. 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 Please count once again.
OK，啱啊，32、1、12 OK 得好。
We issued 45 ballot papers and collected the same number. Number 1, Mr. Chang Han-peng, 32 votes. Ms. Lau Xiaolai, number 2, 1. Dr. Kwok Ka-ki, number 3, 12 votes. So I declare Mr. Chang Han-peng elected. Please take the chair. Thank you for your support and thank you, Mr. James Toh. We now proceed to elect the deputy chairman for the panel. Nominations, please. Mr. Lam Shuk-ting. I nominate Dr. Kwok Ka-ki. Any seconder, please? Ms. Tanya Chen seconds. Dr. Kwok Ka-ki, do you agree? I accept. Any other nominations, please? Do members have any other nominations? If not, I count to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. Dr. Kwok Ka-ki is the deputy chairman for the panel. Members, please note that on the table we have a paper on the proposed scheduled meeting for this session. Any other point? Mr. Frankie Yik and then Dr. Priscilla Leung. Thank you, Chairman. We had a subcommittee on railway matters in the last term. I hope that under the House Committee we can also have a similar subcommittee. And on parking policy, according to this paper, it will be for discussion in May next year. I believe that it's too late. Chairman, can you please urge the administration to expedite the matter? Because the lorries parked on the roadside are receiving penalty tickets, and that's a problem for the industry. All right, I'll have that registered. Dr. Priscilla, I suggest we revisit the issue of sea transport. For instance, we can have some ferry services in the light of new developments along the waterfront. For instance, some ferry services are already cancelled, and we objected to that. So can we revisit the issue? And Mr. Frankie Yip raised a similar issue. Well, with the commissioning of the Kwun Tong extension, there may be reorganization of bus routes, and members of the public have a lot to say about that.
So, should this be discussed at the panel? Yes, all right. Next, Mr. Wilson, or followed by Mr. Michael Tan. I have 2 points to make, and I have 2 issues for discussion. The first is the East Kowloon Route construction works. We have to look at the overall situation for railway development. Second is about transport facilities for new development areas. I hope that these two issues can be discussed at the transport panel in the future. Yes, I'll put that down. Mr. Michael Tan, followed by Mr. Wu Chi-wai. Thank you. Chairman, recently there have been accidents relating to maintenance vehicles on the roads, and some people have died. I think that not enough attention has been paid to it, so I hope that this can be discussed ASAP. And also co-location of boundary crossing facilities. Should we be discussing this here at the panel, and also, or rather the railway subcommittee, and also the premium taxi service? What about that? And also adding seats to minibuses. The government has given the green light, and it says that it will come with a proposal towards by the end of this year. How is the progress? So this is very pressing, and also the extension of license for KMB and also for MTR fare adjustment mechanism that have been views voiced out. This is also very much of our concern, how that relates to profits. And also Sha-Tin Central Link, there has been overspending and the sum seems to be very staggering. I think we should discuss this. And also adding trains to LRT. We've been discussing this for a long time. 70% of the trains now at the peak hours comes with only one train. And also for the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge, how the vehicles can pass through the boundaries. So can we discuss that? And also the delay of the South Island Line East because of problems with the construction works at Admiralty. So can we discuss that? Well, some of them have been covered in the list of issues suggested to be considered here. Well, since Mr. Michael Tan suggested it, we will talk to the government. Mr. Wu Chi-wai, I have two issues. First is the review of the fare adjustment mechanism for MTRC, and also how can we make use of the dividends of the MTRC to subsidize the fare, the transport fare, because I want very much that the fare to go down. Second, this is mentioned, a cycling safety and consultancy study on cycling networks. I hope that the chairman can consider that if we just talk about cycling networks, then we would not be covering a wide enough issue. The government said that because the roads in the urban areas are so congested already, they are not encouraging people to cycle in urban areas. I hope that the government can present more information on that. So I want a detailed discussion on this. All right, I'll just pause here a little bit. Well, first let's take a look at the schedule of meetings, and then we will allow members to raise further issues to be discussed. In the past session, we will hold meetings on the third Friday of each month at 10:45 a.m. And this year, should we be adopting the same schedule? Any views? Normally we have meetings on Friday, so we've got the schedule. Any views on this? Third Friday of each month at 10:45 a.m. What do you think? And in particular, on the 17th of February, we suggest that it be rescheduled to the 24th of February at 10:45 a.m. because the motion debate on policy address will be held from the 15th to the 17th of February. So that's why we need to adjust the date here. Any views on this schedule? Mr. Lam Chuk-Ting, I'm very worried that there might be other meetings on Fridays. Can we come up with a more appropriate time slot? We would make adjustments if there are other meetings. But then members overlap among the different panels, and also there may be problems with arranging the venues and the meeting rooms. So since Mr. Lam Chuk-Ting has made the suggestion, we'll explore other time slots. If that's possible, we'll do it. If not, then we'll just stick to it. We'll notify you. All right, for the next meeting that will be held, let me see, what are the items to be discussed in the next meeting? That will be held on the 18th of November, 10 to 10:25. The next one, Mr. Lam Chuk-Ting. Well, please continue with your proposed issues to be discussed. I suggest that that we discuss the diversion of traffic among the 3 cross-harbor tunnels, and also the policy on premium taxis, and also say Uber services and so on. And some members also mentioned about the transport networks for the new development areas. That's also an important issue, especially for the northern new territories. The traffic problem is getting more serious, and we are worried that once the works on projects in NENT will start, the problem will go worse. We hope to discuss that ASAP. Ms. Tanya Chan. I want to talk about the cycling policy and also inadequate parking spaces for motorbikes. In urban areas for heavy-duty vehicles, there are car parking spaces, and also I've received complaints in relation to parking spaces for motorcycles, and also I heard that there will be delays to the SIL East Line, and I would like to know about the situation, how it's ties in with the bus rationalization plan. And also I want to talk about the electronic road pricing. That's not been mentioned in the list. Well, in that list, we've got something mentioned about the ERP. Well, since you've raised it, we'll follow up, definitely. Mr. Jeremy Tam. Thank you, Chairman. Ms. Tam, Ms. Chan talked about motorcycles. I'm not going to repeat it. And also diversion of traffic. Mr. Lam, Chuck Ting mentioned about it. I want to say something more. The Western Harbour Crossing. Can we buy back the company earlier? I hope that the administration can study or conduct a study into that, because that can dovetail with the commissioning of the Central Wan Chai bypass. The third issue is about the air traffic control system of the Civil Aviation Department. Can we have a joint meeting together with the Economic Development Panel on that? Because yesterday there was this issue coming up. There was a malfunctioning of the new air traffic control system, and ultimately they had to use the old system. I think the CAD must come to give an account of how the new system is being used and what is the relevant arrangement in case of malfunctioning. Can we have joint meetings on air traffic control issues that should be properly dealt with by the EDP? Perhaps we will relay your suggestion to the EDP to see whether they will discuss that. Well, that comes under the THB, so that's why I'm asking whether we can do a joint panel meeting. We can discuss with the THB and also the EDP to see if we can do a joint meeting. Well, since most of the members here are also members of the EDP as well, maybe we can have joint meetings, or if we don't have the joint meetings, I think we will come up with the same outcome. Mr. Lau Kwok Yip, I would like to follow up on the Northern Link progress and also the new railway development projects. Some other members also mentioned about the transport network for new development areas. That's all very important indeed. But for existing road networks, I think we should review them in the short and medium term. For the Sha Tin section of Tolo Highway is congested all the time. And also, I would like to follow up on whether there can be more sectional fares in bus fares, and also more discounts can be offered for certain sections. And on cycling, I hope that the government can implement a cycling-friendly policy as soon as possible. So I will not repeat points made by other members. Dr. Kwok, with regard to railway, I think we should set up a railway subcommittee as soon as possible. There are several other important issues. We're not subsidizing ferry services, But for other transport facilities, there is no subsidy. I think the government should explain what are the subsidy objectives and the principles behind. And also for at-state coaches, I believe many of us have received a number of complaints that the government has not been consistent in its policy in that. And for cycling policy, apart from cycling tracks and networks, we should have an overall cycling policy, whether we should have designated cycling tracks in urban areas. Lastly, on Lantau, the government secretly opened up certain sections of the South Lantau Road. But I would like to know what is the government's plan for transport networks in southern Lantau. I think what the government should give us a policy here. Thank you. Mr. Raymond Chan. I have 4 issues. The bus and minibus reorganization program upon commissioning of the Kwun Tong line extension and also South Island Line East. And also there's the early this month, there are mainland vehicles coming to Hong Kong and using Hong Kong roads. The government said the Transport Department is following up on this. Is it the case that TD has new policies which are unknown to us? Mr. Stephen Ho. In 2012, there was a Lama incident. The Moran Department had major re-engineering, restructure, and they've been put in a lot of regulations. Some are reasonable and some otherwise, and they are overdoing it in some areas. And some of these measures are really not implementable by the trade. And we've listened to some Saikong trade people who told us they can't really accept the vessel inspection measures proposed by the government. I think the government should come out and explain to us, and then maybe we should hold a public hearing. And also for small vessels, the government has been outsourcing some of the vessel inspection work, and I hope that the government can come and explain the system to us and how it will evolve in the future. Mr. Charles Mok, I have 5 issues to raise. First, the government and the public bodies and transport organizations, what is their policy in making public their data? Well, this is important for us in establishing a smart city in Hong Kong, but overall, the government has not been coming up with a good policy to ask public organizations to make public their data. Second, we must open up networks for people to call public transport services. Some members mentioned about the, say, premium taxis, but I think the issue is not just about premium taxis. Third is electronic road pricing, as mentioned by some other members. Fourth, the government has launched some electronic payment services, including metered parking, and also there will be auto toll services for tunnels. I hope that the government is looking at all those. So can we talk about these payment systems? And lastly, the pedestrian prisons in Central. They've done a pilot test recently in Central, and I think we need to discuss the overall policy for that kind of initiative. Dr. Fernando Zhang. She's not here.
Dr. Elizabeth Quat. Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to discuss the overall, the traffic congestion in outbound traffic of NT East. And also I'd like to discuss the overall cycling policy in Hong Kong. Now, the administration has changed its policy, saying that bikes can be means of transport for short journeys. And third, traffic issues of 2.0, where the population is rising and transport facilities have yet to catch up. And the traffic congestion from Sai Kung to Kowloon via Clearwater Bay. Mr. Stephen Ho talked about ferry services. I support him, and I also like to discuss the addition of berthing places in Sai Kung and also supporting facilities for boats. Hong Kong wants to be developed into a smart city, and yet we do not have supporting facilities in terms of transport. And also traffic payment system recently launched. They are new systems, but the technology is very backward. So I'd like to discuss them here. Thank you. Dr. Helena Wong. Thank you. I think some members proposed the setting up of a subcommittee to follow up on the construction of Sha Tin Central Link and express express railway, and also car parking spaces in urban areas. I agree that this should be discussed earlier than May next year. And under this topic, we should not just deal with heavy-duty vehicles, but private vehicles as well, both roadside and indoor parking. We should also review the use and demand and planning of public car parks, because this is also related to item 5, Central Kowloon route, where we don't have a proposed timing of discussion yet. Please advance the discussion of Central Kowloon route because it involves a big project and involves the Yang Ma Tei public car park, which will be demolished. The public car park in Tsim Sha Tsui is already demolished, and if we do the same to Yang Ma Tei public car park, then there won't be public car parks in Central Kowloon anymore. So how are we going to deal with the demand for more parking spaces while driving licenses and vehicle permits are on the increase? Mr. Leung Chi Chang, reorganization of bus routes. I think this has happened to all 18 districts, but with the commissioning of new railway lines, perhaps there will be another round of reorganization. Can the administration report to us the progress and the benefits, whatnot, of the new bus routes? And for Yuen Tin Railway, both the Yuen Long and Tuen Mun district councils have urged for such a link to be constructed, but there's no response from the administration so far. Can we discuss it in this forum? Can the chairman arrange for a site visit to the mainland section of the Hong Kong-Macau Bridge, which is almost complete? I'd like to know, they may have some views on the Hong Kong section as well as the interface between the two. So can we make a site visit? Are you talking about the Yuen Tuen or Chuen Tuen Railway? Chuen Tuen, Tsuen Wan Tuen Mun Railway Link. Okay, thank you. Mr. Edward Yu. Thank you, Chairman. I've got two proposals for discussion in the transport panel. First, some government officials said that instead of a road-based traffic planning approach, they will make it pedestrian-based to focus on walkability. So can we invite the administration to discuss with us this new approach in planning? And secondly, there are more and more demands for electrical vehicles to protect the environment. So we should see whether there is any policy to promote the use of e-vehicles and also tax concessions to promote that. Dr. Fernando Zhou. Franchise of KMB is also rather pressing because the franchise is due for renewal by the end of this year, but there is a lot of room for improvement when it comes to facilities for the disabled and addition of seats to minibuses. We want to discuss it as soon as possible because this will involve the possibility of adding barrier-free platforms for wheelchairs at the back of minibuses, and also barrier-free access in transport facilities. This is not the most pressing issue, but I also want to have it discussed ASAP. Well, according to the administration, there are two proposals for our meeting dated the 18th of November. First, Universal Accessibility Program, and second, Outlying Island Ferry Services. Well, if there are issues proposed by members just now, and if the administration is ready, then we will adjust the agenda appropriately. Okay, do you all agree? Myself and the Deputy Chairman will meet with the Secretary for Transport and Housing to work out the work plan for meetings from December to July next year. And the Secretary will arrange a meeting for us. And some members proposed the setting up of the subcommittee on railway matters. Is there any objection? If not, then we invite the Secretariat to help us draft terms of reference and a work plan for the subcommittee for circulation to members for approval. The MTRCR has just given us a letter. All members of the transport panel are invited to visit the control center of Qingyi Depot in the morning of the 14th of November. So members, do you have any view on this? If there is none, then we will invite the Secretariat to issue a notice for all of us to join. And as usual, non-panel members will also be invited to go on the visit. Okay, do you agree? Any other business? No, that meeting is adjourned. Thank you.